Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the subject of the Senate and why I don't believe that we are likely to get big legislation done for the next year-ish, 2 years. Why? Well, look at this. Right now, we have a tied Senate, and by that I mean we have 50 Republicans, 48 Democrats, 2 independents that are basically liberal. Okay, so we have 50-50 split. But because Chuck Schumer has a vice president, Kamala Harris, he is the majority leader. And we did win the popular vote, Lumphao, by about 2%, and yet we do not have the majority. It's unreasonable. Anyway, I'm going to talk about why we aren't going to get the Democrats passing anything too big. Now, here's the thing. We have approximately a couple tries at reconciliation for the Democrats, and other than that, we were looking pretty good. What does that mean? Basically, what I'm saying is that Republicans can block everything, basically, that requires 60 votes, right? By that I mean we can filibuster pretty much everything, and we're going to be able to do it successfully. Now, insofar as we were talking about immigration reform will almost definitely not happen. You saw what happened in 2013. The Tea Party successfully stopped it dead in its tracks. And now that we do have the more anti-immigration stance in the party overall, it would seem to me that we are going to be very easily capable of stopping immigration reform, amnesty, and stuff like this. And again, I'm not going to talk about the executive branch, executive orders. I have no idea what's going to happen there. But in terms of getting major legislation done, anything similar to Obamacare won't happen. A public option healthcare reform will not happen. And again, I'm saying substantial stuff, not like little tiny shit. I'm talking big league stuff that's political. Let me see. Raising taxes will not happen naturally, I think, or through legislation. Go through the list. Anything that needs 60 votes is almost definitely not going to happen. And in terms of the 50-vote reconciliation, I'm pretty sure they only get a couple of chances of doing that, and that comes with a litany of rules. And again, even though they do have the majority is tied, and they need a tiebreaker in the Senate, Kamala Harris, to actually get legislation passed. So it's going to be a stretch for them to actually get anything done, let alone actually, doing it legitimately. So if we move back, let's look at other legislatures that were deadlocked. As you can see, in 2018, we had about 53 seats. So we were in the majority there easily. You look at 16, we had 52 seats, not a big deal. We move on to 2014, we had 54 seats. If you look on to 2012, we had 45. 2010, we had 47. In 2008, we had 41. 2006. Okay, and here's the thing. In 2008, the Democrats had basically 60 votes, but like by a thread, okay? They had a Republican switch parties. I think they, might have done something, Al Franken may or may not have did recounts to benefit him out, in a bad way. So you can argue that election was suspicious. And insofar as other things, like let me think about another place. Oh yeah, Obamacare. How did that pass? 60 votes. Barely broke the filibuster. Why is that? Well, they got a Republican to switch their vote, I think, and they also got what else was it? Oh yeah, Obama ostensibly bribed these people, these red states, blue senators who voted for Obamacare by giving them, Medicaid benefits that were not necessary, that were extra, that shouldn't have been there. So again, he did that through a bunch of cockamamie, but ultimately it did work. That's what a 60 majority could do for you. Barely anything, just one bill, and by the skin of his teeth. Okay, now look at 2006. 49, big deal, right? Well, where are the other senators? We're at the 2006 election. Well. We had 49 Democrats, 49 Republicans, but the difference is that we did have one independent. That was Bernie Sanders, I believe, which went for the Democrats, and they also had Lieberman, who caucused with the Democrats, I believe. So the Democrats had an effective majority of 51. So that's a close one. And doesn't matter. Not a big deal. 2006, whatever. Move on. 2004, let's move on to the Senate here. Now, we have 55 Senate seats to 44 Democrat seats. Big majority for the Republicans. Now, we move on to 2002. Republicans have 51 to the Democrats 48, plus 2 independents that caucus with the Democrats, I believe. Now you move on to the year 2000, and here's the one that I was actually going to talk about. Close presidential election and close Senate. 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats, no independents. So what the hell would you do? The Republicans won the popular vote by about 3%. That doesn't matter, though, okay? So don't worry about it. Now, what's the deal? Well, Republican President George W. Bush had a vice president who broke the ties, okay? So 50-50 plus 1, just like what's happening here, but reverse. If Al Gore won the election or won in the courts or what have you, you would have had a vice president in, I think he picked Joe Lieberman, and then he would have broke the ties, and they would have had the majority, okay? Understand. Even though there's 50-50 seats, you have to understand that little technicality. Now, if you move on to what they actually got done, nothing really changed. And that's the whole point. A tied Senate will not get shit done for the administration that's in control, other than stuff that is bipartisan, okay? Pretty much. Now, let's look on to the United States Congress. We have a timeline of what happened here of the tied Senate. Again, there was a lot of a bunch of things that fucked with the majority, just like with what happened to Obama the first 2 years. So January 2001, Dick Cheney becomes vice president, and the Republicans take control of the Senate with his tie-breaking vote. Now, Senator Jim Jeffords, who was a Republican from the state of, I think, Vermont, a liberal Republican, previously declared himself an independent and that he would join the Democratic caucus, giving them the majority in June 6, 2001. What does that mean? It basically meant that as of 5 months into Bush's administration, the Senate went from Republican to Democrat, which sucks, right? And also keep in mind that, let me think, who was it? Oh, yeah. So if a Democrat were to switch parties, I would immediately give McConnell the majority-ship, right? So that's a big thing. So the Democrats to make sure that nobody defects, and of course no Republican's going to switch sides right now. Senator Wellstone, Democrat, in 2002, died in a car crash 3 months before the next Senate in 2003, and was replaced by Dean Barkley, who was a non-caucusing independent, which kept the majority still Democrat. Jim Talent takes the seat in Missouri, which gives the Republicans the majority, okay, in November 23rd, 2002. So that basically made it a tie, which then led to the Democrats losing the majority because of the vice presidency, I believe. And the formal recognition didn't even happen until 2003. So as you can see, the majority doesn't even matter. If it's 50-50, you're pretty much screwed anyway. Okay, you get hardly anything passed. Now let's look at the major legislation that passed through the Senate, through a tied Senate, more or less. As you can see, Economic Growth and Reconciliation Act. That was the first big thing that Bush got. It was called the Bush tax cuts, okay? Also known as I believe the acronym was EGTRRA, okay? Now, how many votes did he get here? And you'll understand. There's a sunset provision, so already it's watered down. It would only last so many years, assuming that that the next president doesn't kill it. Now, the vote on this is pretty interesting because Bush had made the tax cuts a centerpiece of his 2000 election. He introduced the tax cut proposal shortly after taking office. Though a handful of Democrats supported the bill, most of the support came from Republicans in the Senate. The bill was passed in May 2001 before the Democrats took the majority because of Jim Jeffords, and he signed it into law on June 7th, the day after the Democrats got the majority, but of course the bill was already in his desk. Due to the narrow Republican majority in the United States Senate, the tax bill passed through reconciliation, which bypasses the Senate filibuster. Okay, so they only did this by the skin of their teeth, but also let's keep in mind 5 Democrats did support it. I believe John McCain didn't vote for it because fuck John McCain, he's gay and overrated and a rhino, and basically he did it because he had some sort of bipartisan support. But again, with the Senate so polarized in 2021, I doubt that we're going to get that handful of Republicans to vote for a Democrat bill that's a major win for them. Because by the end of the day, yes, Susan Collins is a cuck, Lisa Murkowski is a cuck, but they also don't want to go out and help the Democratic Party at the expense of the party and the establishment as a whole. Okay, which is why you don't see McConnell voting for a tax raise, because even if he were to believe that, he doesn't want to give the Republican Party an L because he's an establishmentarian, old guard Republican. Now, the next major legislation that passed was the U.S. Patriot Act. The Patriot Act passed. That sucked. No Child Left Behind, which was endorsed by Teddy Kennedy, so that was bipartisan as well. The U.S. Patriot Act was bipartisan. The Small Business Liability Relief and Brownfield Restoration Act was supposed to be a big deal, and basically this was also a bipartisan piece of legislation. If you look at the vote here, if I can even find it, it wasn't a big deal to begin with, so that doesn't even count. Job Creation and Worker Assistance Act of 2002, well, what does that mean? It basically has a net operating loss of 5 years, extending the exemption. Okay, so this is just a tax credit, not a big deal. I don't know why it's under major legislation. It is not. Now, the McCain-Feingold campaign reform legislation was really popular from what I can understand. I was not around in 2002. But I can assure you that it had some bipartisan support. Okay, so again, bipartisan. Do we see a lot of bipartisanship in the United States Senate? Nope. Should there be? Nope. Farm Security Bill and Rural Investment Act. Okay, this isn't even a conservative thing to do, debatably. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Okay, what the hell is this? Nobody even knows. Not a big deal. Okay, Trade Act of 2002. What? Oh, is Bush based? Doubt it. Look at this. Granted the president authority to negotiate trade deals and basically bypass Congress to a large extent. So just more executive power after 9/11. Of course, authorization to use military force against Iraq, which was bipartisan. Joe Biden voted for it in the Senate. The Sudan Peace Act, not a big deal. Help America Vote Act, which came with certain it actually had some good election reform rules in here that were not enforced in 2020, I believe. But either way, that's bipartisan. Homeland Security Act, that's another 9/11 thing, terrorism thing. The E-Government Act of 2002, you may wonder what that is, and it's basically something that came into effect in 2003, which promoted electronic government services and processes. Okay, nobody gives a shit. So this is basically every single piece of legislation here is bipartisan besides the tax cut, and the tax cut had 5 Democrats supporting it. So again, nothing big, that was far right, that was based happened. So what makes you think that Joe Biden will get anything based that will happen that will not have bipartisan support in 2021 or 2? So again, I don't see a lot happening in this election. All right, in this okay, so basically what this whole video is showing is that not only in 2020 would a 50-50 Senate not produce a lot of legislation, but we can even look and back that argument up with the most recent 50-50 Senate, which was, I believe, in 2000, in 2001 and 2 and 3, whatever, that basically said that when you're tied, you're not going to get a lot done because you don't have a lot of leeway. You cannot lose a single vote, and if the Democrats don't support you or the Republicans don't support you, the bill won't pass, even with reconciliation. So the only way Joe Biden will get anything done is with nuking the filibuster, which is going to be really difficult to do because Joe Manchin has already gone against it publicly, Kyrsten Sinema has already gone against it publicly, and if Mark Kelly wants to win in 2022, he has to come against it publicly, right? So, point of the video is, not only will they not get rid of the filibuster, in all likelihood, they would also need reconciliation, which is really, like a pain in the ass to do. You can only do it a couple of times, and it has to be pretty well supported within your own caucus or the country as a whole for it to even pass. So, point blank, this is what I'm going to say to wrap up the video. It's going over 14 minutes long. I don't think a lot of major legislation will get through under this current Senate term, 2021 to 2023. I don't think a lot will happen. He's not going to get amnesty, I believe, through legislative, actual legal means. He's not going to get healthcare reform. Tax reform won't happen. A lot of other things won't happen that should happen. Okay, let's say that. And Ultimately, H.R. 1 probably won't pass. The filibuster will probably stay there, and all hell will break loose if that were to go away. So, anyways, guys, thank you for watching the video. Take the clear pill, I think it's called. Like, don't be that cynical. Not much will happen past this point. The stimulus may be the biggest thing that Joe Biden will ever do in his entire presidency, which is pathetic. Obama got more done than him. Lum foul. Bye.